What is the most romantic thing you have done for someone that has either backfired or was not received well by the person you did it for? I worked with this girl at a Ruby Tuesdays, and for her birthday we all went out for drinks. We were all friends and I think she knew I liked her at the time, though I hadn't made movie yet. She put off this rocker vibe, tattoos, colored hair, loved 80s hair metal and rock music in general. So for her birthday I decided to burn her a CD of all of my favorite songs from the band The Kills, because lead singer Alison Moshford kinda reminded me of her and I thought that their music would be right up her alley. So I burned the CD on my computer, decorated the CD cover with Sharpie, made it look really cool. I wrapped it up with fancy wrapping paper and a bow and gave it to her at the end of the night. I didn't wait for her to unwrap it, partly because I was still nervous about her reaction to my gesture and partly because I didn't want to put her on the spot while we were out amongst friends. I figured she would just let me know if she liked it at work the following week and I would use that as an opportunity to ask her out. Cut to next week. There was a day that I was off and she was working, and so was a close buddy of mine from high school. I come in the following day for work and he pulls me aside and says, "Dude, you should just forget about her." He goes on to tell me she had basically crap talked my gift, saying, "I can't believe he did that. I don't even like The Kills. My friend and I are really tight," and he's very outspoken and defends me, saying, "Are you kidding me? You should be so freaking lucky that anyone gives a crap about your birthday at all." When I heard about that incident, it killed any interest I had in her. She never even thanked me for the CD at all. She just never mentioned it and I moved on. Glad you had a good friend on your side at least. Any friend that stands up for you when you're not around is one worth keeping for sure. My girlfriend at the time had this friend who passed away, so I went out and bought Chinese sky lanterns, little hot air balloons. Pretty much. We wrote messages to her friend on them and launched them in the sky from my backyard. Hers careened right into a tree and almost set the whole dang thing ablaze. Why send a lantern when you can sacrifice a tree? I took my ex to Paris. Had the whole weekend planned. We went to the Eiffel Tower at night. Had a picnic. Basically did it all. She dumped me 2 weeks later. She said I wasn't romantic enough and didn't tell her I loved her enough when we were in Paris. Okay. She wanted to break up before the trip. 100%. Had a girlfriend come live with me after being in a not so great situation for nearly a year in another state. Was planning for 8 months to have a dress she had been dying to get waiting for her under the Christmas tree when she arrived, because she hadn't had the cash for groceries, let alone a nice dress. So, she got super excited when she saw the box and opened it right away. I bought the wrong dress. Literally whispered the word sweet nothings into my new girlfriend's ear. Whispering sweet nothings is a saying or general term used to describe a set of compliments or words intended to flatter or woo a lady. This was my attempt to be sexy, romantic, in a humorous sense. At the very least, I thought she would find it funny. I thought wrong, however. I was unaware that this was something her ex used to say do on the regular. So I did not come off sexy or romantic, but actually repulsed her since I reminded her of him at that moment. Try nasty everything. Booked a spontaneous romantic trip to Paris for my girlfriend in college during a long weekend. Apparently, we both get grumpy as heck on long flights and basically spent the weekend fighting, so not worth the little money I had. That's why I drink heavily then pass out for 9 hours on long flights. Made a huge plan to ask my crush to prom. Made signs to her house asking her but didn't put up a name saying who did it. Well, turns out her neighbor had a crush too and took credit for it. She said yes to him. Nobody believed I did it and they're now married. That's a little rough. On the bright side, it seems you have a gift for unintentional matchmaking, so that's something. I got painting lessons for a girlfriend because she was getting into painting. She took it to mean that I thought her painting sucked. She never took the lessons and I never got my money back. Sounds to me like she was the one who thought her painting sucked. I emptied my wardrobe cabinet and filled the cabinet portion of it and placed on the shelf flowers, chocolate, a stuffed bear and numerous candy that she loved. When I told her to get my hoodie out of the cabinet, she opened it and said it's not here and then proceeded to close the cabinet. Welp. Did a large portrait of my at the time girlfriend. We had been fighting and had not spoken in a few days, and I decided to do something I thought would be romantic. and drew a portrait from my favorite photo of her. She got mad and said it made her look like crap. Gee, thanks. After the date, I dropped her off in the parking lot where her car was parked. We said goodbye and no kiss. It was our first date. She got out and began walking across the parking lot, and I suddenly got the courage to whip my car around, stop right in front of her, get out, and kiss her. In my head it was like something out of a film. In person, I pulled up to her, forgot to put it in park, got out, walked away from the car. She looked at me horrified and pointed. I turned around and ran towards my car as it slammed into another parked car. Just a typical day in my life, really. Decided to make a bold move with a close lady friend. Invited her over for a home-cooked meal on Valentine's Day in my crappy college apartment since neither of us were seeing anyone. Pretty smooth, right? I thought so. So I cook a pork loin and some pasta something or other, and purchased an expensive $12 bottle of wine. She'll be here any minute, I kept telling myself. At around 9 PM I texted her. She let me know that she assumed the invite was a joke. She did eventually sheepishly show up. We are now married and I remind her of this every Valentine's Day. I got my very anxious and overstressed ex a package of 3 deep tissue massages to her place that we had gotten a couple's massage from. Her first massage ever, and she really enjoyed it. A few months later it was reported on the news that the owner proprietor of that spa was molesting and threatening women while giving them massages. In 8th grade, I tried to hop over a little mini fence by the pay area to impress the boy I liked. Needless to say, I did not make it, and instead ripped the whole back of my pants, exposing my prepubescent butt to my fellow peers, while also falling forward and smacking my face into the concrete below the fence. Needless to say, when the boy expressed his disinterest about me to his friends, I was not surprised. You went face down, butt up, that one is on him. Not me, but my boyfriend, and at first I hated it, but it really grew on me. 7 years ago, he promised a mini weekend getaway, a romantic picnic at a secluded beach, and afterwards an intimate view of the sunset. First he came to pick me up about 2 hours late. Later I found out he was busy preparing everything for the picnic. We drove there, but luckily for us, a 4th grade class trip arrived. We quickly tried to find a place somewhere else. When we found a spot, my boyfriend told me to go ahead alone. I look back and see him pulling an enormous cooler, barely budging because of the heavy load. When I go over to him, the cooler tips over and all the ice and contents fall in the sand. He quickly starts shoving everything back inside, cursing under his breath and saying sorry over and over. The section of beach we found was dirty. The water looked like sludge and there was graffiti all over the rocks behind us. The drinks and fruits were covered in sand and the sandwiches had water in them from the cooler. We later realized there was sewage in the water, which was why there was a horrible smell and a disturbing amount of flies. Needless to say, we didn't wait till sundown. He didn't have money to buy anything else because he spent it all on ice and drinks. I paid for our Burger King meals. I hated it. I thought it was the worst experience ever, but later I went home and realized how hard he tried to make my first real summer date special. 7 years later, we're still going strong. OMG. Or, I've been there and done that. You have no idea how terrible you feel being the boyfriend in that situation. Senior year in high school, I had a girlfriend who I had been going out with for a while. With graduation getting close and us having different plans for our futures, things were getting tense and our relationship was getting rocky. There were really tall cliffs over the lake in the town I lived in. Our first official date was there, and in the early days we spent a lot of dates there at those cliffs. When we were rocky, we hadn't gone to them in a while, so as a way to revitalize our relationship, I decided to go there with her. It was really still and there was fog over the lake. It's a great lake, so it's massive, and it was unusual for there not to be at least some waves. We were sitting on the beach under the cliffs. She seemed happy and asked why I had wanted to come here. I explained my reasoning to her. I looked over to her and her face was in her hands. She said she wanted to break up. So yeah, that was rough. But it's been a few years, so now I can look back at it and laugh. I thought this was going to end with someone falling off a cliff, so at least you both survived. To celebrate our 5th Valentine's Day together, I was going to replicate our crappy first meal together over candlelight. It was banquet chicken patties with marinara sauce and mozzarella melted on top with pasta and a dill bag salad. In the days leading up to it, when she asked what I was going to do, I told her make a special meal. She laughed and said probably just make the same food we did years ago or something dumb. So, needless to say, I went to plan B. I used to write my boyfriend one sonnet per week about how much I loved him. I called him to tell him I got into the writing program at my university. He told me he'd been seeing someone else for 2 years, that he hated my writing, and ripped up all of my poems on the phone for me to hear. What an butthole. I hope you've moved on. Walking around at recess with my life or death crush Christina in 5th grade. I'd been planning this moment for weeks. She was a small girl. I told her she reminded me of strawberry shortcake. She asked why and I responded because you're short and sweet. She did not respond and I'm still dead inside. It's cool, you'll probably recover by the time you're in 6th grade. This is one I just remembered while scrolling through these replies. My entire high school career I was goth, always wearing band tees and combat boots, really grungy. It was just my style, and I liked it. I liked a guy who was friendly but didn't seem interested. So I decided to come to school one day dressed pretty, with pink lipstick and a skirt and normal boots. I thought for sure he'd see me as an ugly duckling turned swan. Everyone laughed. I was teased all day about my makeup. The girls were whispering about how dumb I looked for trying to dress like them. The guy I liked didn't take notice and started dating another girl in my class. And surprisingly, Carrie was my favorite book. Man, this hurt to read. I was one of those girls in high school who wasn't concerned with my appearance at all, and I didn't get teased for it too often. But as soon as you show that you're trying to put effort into it, kids are ruthless. My ex and I were to get married in 18 days, and we were really stressed out about the wedding. So I left work early, got a bunch of things, cooked dinner, set up a little scavenger hunt of memories to remind her of why we're together, which then led her to the dinner table with her favorite meal with candles. She then broke up with me, lied about why she did it, and I found out a few weeks later that the reason we were having trouble was not wedding related. It was because she was with someone else. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Spoiler, not fun at all. I booked a weekend at a nice resort up north after the first decent snowfall of the year, and one of the options was a sleigh ride. I thought it would be like a Hallmark card. Couldn't have been more wrong. First of all, it's way below freezing, but we were dressed for it. The horse had constant gas for the duration of the trip. Also, that horse doesn't give a crap that we're there. He's clipping trees, farting, hitting rocks, all in a sleigh with no suspension whatsoever. Hold on, this is where it usually tips over, our guide says, as if bouncing around on solid wood behind a fart machine wasn't bad enough. Now it's apparent that we can just fall over any time. It's not that uncommon, though I've never seen it on a Hallmark card. We came back cold, tired, and in pain. You know what's more fun than a ride on a one-horse open sleigh? Drinking inside in front of a fireplace. Or anything. Anything is more fun. Thank you for sharing. I laughed. I once had a car breakdown at the very beginning of my relationship with the girl of my dreams. However, me being underage couldn't rent a car. But I could rent a U-Haul. For just $20 a day and but a few dollars for extra mileage, I rented a U-Haul and was on my way to her house to pick her up for what promised to be the most awkward date of her life. Until I pulled up, that is. For you see, once I arrived I saw her family moving boxes from storage. And they had a lot of stuff. Like, a lot. And they saw me pull up in a U-Haul and thought I was just the greatest help. So I instead had to help them all day with boxes. No date for me. But we're engaged now, so yeah. In a thread full of depressing stories, I'm really glad you posted this. I went on a date with my girlfriend to a bridge on a river that turned out to be the first date with her really crappy ex. And if that wasn't enough, as we left we walked by a load of druggies dealing H. Here sweetie, I bought you some dope to help you forget about him. Cooked Valentine dinner for an ex back in like 2002. Was making some chicken. Put it in a pot to cook. Me and girl hang out while cooking. Get a little preoccupied. Afterward I think, Oh crap, the chicken run to kitchen naked. Go to grab lid off. Apparently I used my roommate's pressure cooker. I didn't know what a pressure cooker was, but I do now. I forced the lid open and got boiling water all over my stomach, arms, and crotch. Spent Valentine's Day in a getting burns treated. An even hotter evening than you expected. I surprised my fiancée at her work with a bouquet of flowers. She thought it was creepy and told people I snuck into her work and security had to change the codes. I simply walked up to receptionist and said I had a delivery for her and was escorted there. Turns out she was having an affair with her boss and was gaslighting me to make me look like the bad guy. It clicked for me because I always thought the only difference between a creepy gesture and a romantic one is how you feel about the person doing it. There was a girl in high school I liked. Left a note with a rose and a poem on it in her locker. Next day the principal called my parents and security took me into their office to ask me why I was harassing her. Embarrassing AF. Bought a bouquet for my girlfriend. Her mom took a look at them and said they were poisonous. Girlfriend now thinks I tried to kill her. Spent a month and a half teaching myself how to make origami roses because she liked origami and was not big on flowers. She had said numerous times she thought origami roses were really charming though. I hid it from her as best as I could. I spent hours on YouTube trying to figure this out. I wanted to burn my own house down on numerous occasions because of the amount of struggle involved here. Thought this was going to be romantic AF. Made 12, each with stems and leaves and each one was a different color. Put them in a vase and presented them to her. Her reaction was about the equivalent of "that's nice." Pretty much zero appreciation. I would also like to point out how ridiculously difficult origami is, and I have utmost respect for people that do this proficiently. If you are good at origami, hats off, and I hope it came more naturally to you than it did me. I wanted to play in traffic for the duration of trying to learn this. It's amazing how something so seemingly simplistic can be so impossible to execute. Was my girlfriend's and I 3-year anniversary. Before I left for work I set up a rose petal bed, including a flower arrangement, and a gift. I left work early to pick her up for our dinner reservation. When I got to her house she still needed some time to get ready. While she gets ready she likes to play music on her laptop. So I went to change the song and her messenger app was open, with my friend's name at the top. Turns out she slept with my friend at my house a few nights prior while I was drunk. This actually happened this morning. LOL. I am planning a surprise birthday party for my wife. I'm renting a beach house and flying a few of her friends in to celebrate for a weekend. My wife handles most of our finances and watches them like a hawk. So in order to keep this a surprise I applied for a new credit card to pay for everything. We have a pretty good income, so I don't expect her to be upset over the amount that will be spent. I got the new credit card in the mail and hid it. Well, she found it, thought I had a gambling problem or something worse that would require me to hide money. I explained why I had it, but basically had to give up the surprise. Bummer. Dude, secret Christmas presents would have been a much better excuse. Bought my wife diamond earrings. She opened them and said, but they're not the same cut as my ring. I can't wear them. Now ex-wife. That lady sounds exhausting. Got 2 rings. One with my sun and stars and one with moon of my life carved on them. We were big Game of Thrones fans. When we broke up I tossed mine into a drawer. He gave his to his new girlfriend. Ouch, that hurts. My ex and I had necklaces that formed together to make a heart, with one having "I love you" engraved on it and "I know" engraved on the other. He put a video on his Snapchat story of him burning it in a fire with everything else I gave him. Fun times. I lived in a small country town and we had a huge ice storm that lasted 2 weeks. All the power in the town was out, so I'm not exaggerating when I say it was pitch black everywhere. It had been a while since my girlfriend and I saw each other due to the entire town being iced over, including the roads. So on Valentine's night I got her a rose and walked miles to get to her through pitch black woods, loud winds, and what I'm pretty sure I heard was wolves nearby. When I gave her the rose she brushed it off like nothing really happened. Broke up with me the next day and I saw her with another guy later on that she told me not to worry about before. My boyfriend sent me flowers at work once. The guys in my office all started calling them guilt flowers because they weren't sent to me for any particular reason. They figured he must have done something wrong. I overthought this and made myself believe they were right. When my boyfriend got home, he found out what happened and never sent me flowers again. Sorry, you work amongst immature dipshits. Wife and I spent a full day of heavy labor digging in flower beds and planting at our new house. That evening after showering, both our backs hurt from the effort, so I had her lie down and gave her a deep back rub. She proceeded to return favor, but instead of just using massage oil like I did on her, she used icy hot Bengay kind of stuff. Felt great. She got bold and had me turn over so she could massage the front of my thighs. I of course go to full attention, so she grabs it and starts to work on that too, using the icy hot stuff all over her hands as lubricant. Ever put that stuff on your balls? Word of advice, don't. It's like a perpetual baseball bat to the nutsack until it wears off an hour later. Gave my wife a private fireworks show for her birthday on a July 4th when we first started dating. It was in the woods at night in an unfamiliar state. She thought I was going to murder her. I shaved my chest hair in form of her name. I thought I was being cute. Spent the entire afternoon by the poolside with a t-shirt on while she swam like a dolphin with her friends. Haha, I'd laugh at you too. My so wants to tattoo his last name on his back, and I don't understand why. It's just tacky, I guess, lol. For me and my husband's first wedding anniversary, I did this whole scavenger hunt 5 senses thing, where I got gifts for the 5 senses. I spent weeks scrapbooking the cards together and writing the clues and how they related to the 5 senses act. On top of that, I spent close to $1,000 buying the gifts. They included a PS3, all of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Naruto Shippuden, PS3 games, Naruto and Call of Duty, vape juice, taste, movies, and some other crap I can't remember. The morning of, I carefully got up super early and hid everything. When he got up, I had him start. He was bored with the scavenger hunt, asking why I couldn't just give it to him. Ended up just showing him where everything was. He didn't read the cards. The only thing he ever used was the anime and PS3, and he literally complained about it all, saying I didn't get the right game or Naruto episodes, or ISHLD have gotten the PS4 instead. I was devastated. Never did anything else like that again, even since we been separated. Side note, I was pregnant and the only one working as well. I flew cross country to surprise her. I had spent weeks working on a model of her aircraft in the Air Force, including painting it with the correct tail number and spending hours getting the crew chief hair color right. She was a crew chief. Left it on her doorstep with a note since I knew she was out. Figured she would call when she got it. She never noticed it and I ended up calling her. Once she realized I was in town, she was said she was gonna deck me for trying to surprise her. Now she is my ex-wife after 14 years. I guess I should have known earlier. That is such a unique and awesome idea. Kudos to you for making the effort. I was seeing a girl who I really liked. She also seemed to really like me as well. One day I wanted to buy her flowers as a random act of kindness. She told me she didn't want me to buy her flowers. Okay, so a week later I went out to my friend's farm and picked flowers for her instead. I was proud of myself with the colors I chose and filling in around the sides. It looked like a bouquet you would buy at a store. When I saw her that night, I showed them to her. She proceeded to laugh and call me gay. She almost forgot them when she was going home and she just left them in the backseat of her car until they died. I stopped talking to her shortly after. Good riddance, my man. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.